Okay, yeah, he was
Nice.
nominated like for the Grammy, not for
Not a Latin Grammy or something.
Latin Grammy or something like that. It was like he's maybe we can just like start commenting on that because that's pretty big deal. Now it's becoming more and more common, no, to have guitar be nominated. That is a great, I think, development.
Fantastic. Yeah, Mac is very hardworking, but I've
Yeah,
never
I
heard
mean,
him play, to be honest.
he very, very interesting guy. Let me see. There's Judicael. Oh my God, man. Were you teaching? Were you just teaching until now?
No, I just bought I rebought my ex guitar I used to have many years ago.
The small one?
No. A very Paul Fisher that I used to have during many years, and I bought it again, the same one. I sold it many years ago to friends, and he sold me back the guitar.
Not
Wow.
bad.
Not
After
bad.
20 years. So I'm very happy.
Same price? Because if that's the case, then you
Yeah, same price.
Wow. Oh my God. So just on inflation, like
Yeah,
you did an amazing
exactly.
deal.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the club.
Very good. Okay, so let's kick things off. Welcome again. I think people really liked, I don't know about you, but I heard really good things about our last conversation. My name is Alvaro Mendizabal. I am hosting Open Strings with these two crazy folk. We have Judicael Perrois, former professor of San Francisco Conservatory, now in the Conservatoire in Genève and in Lille. Amazing teacher. Many of his students earn all the competitions, and Fabio Sanon, amazing concert guitarist as well, professor in Royal Academy of Music. I don't know which one of you has most miles in your in your flying accounts, because Fabio, you go back and forth from Brazil to the UK, and Judicael, you travel a lot too. So yeah, welcome again.
It's smaller now than my distance. It's just 3 hours by train, so it's fine.
My God. So now you have like gold status forever now after your experience in San Francisco?
I'm going to lose very soon my plane statue, because the last 2-3 years was very difficult to raise the same statue. But now I take the train, so I have gold statue. I can have free coffee on the train station.
Nah, that's awesome. That's awesome, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was just sharing, like when you were joining, Judicael, some latest news. I mean, that's the point of this podcast, right? If you're listening for the first time, these three crazy people, all lovers of the guitar, kind of commenting what's been happening in the industry, with the students, with the competitions, just every month or so. So really awesome to have you guys again, that you are willing to do this. And today, unexpectedly, big day. Let me see if I can share my screen, because Mac Gergich just got nominated for the Grammys today. Let's check that out. So here we go. And with a very, very interesting program too. Like, look at that. I mean, it's like the music of Soran. I'm going to destroy the name. Let me see. It's the music of Soran something. But it's like a guitar composer, friend of his. There we go. Soran Rajacic, something like this. Apologies if I destroyed the name. But yeah, I mean, Mac, former student of USC, I think, working in LA, living in LA, just got nominated to the Grammys with Hilary Hahn, Trifonov, Mitsuko Uchida, and wow. So yeah, amazing.
I know. I just realized that I know the other composer, Bach, Beethoven. I know very well, but I don't know Zoran Krasavic. So I don't know. I don't know this composer.
I don't know the music at all. It's probably my fault, but
never
but
heard
you know,
of this.
You know Beethoven and Bach? Sorry.
I think I heard of them. Maybe. I don't know. What about you, Fabio?
Well, I know them, but they probably don't know me. So
Oh my God. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. And this is the thing, right? I think the guitar, like we kind of all know fairly well the guitar world, the music world, and sometimes the things that kind of are trendy in one side don't kind of cross over to the other, right? And then these kind of things happen. No, I mean, it was definitely a surprise. I mean, I wouldn't have expected him to be nominated. I think it's the second time he is nominated. His last one was
Really?
with Bach. Yeah. So very interesting work that Mac is doing.
Mark is fantastic. I mean, he's very proactive. During COVID, he did, quite a few international collaborations, commissioning music to be performed over YouTube by people in different places and countries, and mixing everything together. It was a hell of a lot of work, and I think artistically was also quite successful. So I'm happy that, I mean, his solo project is also getting recognition. Very good for him.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, yeah, that's right. He does the guitar orchestra, the virtual guitar orchestra thing, I think was organized by him. He's also in the board of the European Guitar Foundation or something like that. So yeah, he's moving strings, I guess. Yeah. No, I mean, good stuff. Yeah, so I think in overall it's positive, no, that we have like more representation, because now it's happening more often and more often. I remember
that's fantastic. Whoever is nominated, I mean, if his quality work, and I'm sure that his work is high quality, is good for the guitar. I mean, he gets exposure for the instrument. I hope people pay attention to that. And we all know that for you to be nominated to a Grammy or to a Latin Grammy, you have to tick a few boxes. He definitely has worked to get all the boxes ticked. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking, David Russell won it 2005, right? Then I think it was Jason View who won it 2012 and something like that. But now, people are starting to get more nominated.
I don't have it on me, Alvaro, but I remember that I've made a compilation of all people who were nominated or won Grammys playing the classical guitar. And the number one is Laurindo Almeida. He got nominated. He got 6 Grammys in 4 different categories.
Holy crap. Yeah. I didn't know that. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Many people don't talk about Laurindo any longer, but back in the 50s and 60s, he was a big name. I remember talking to Leo Brouwer, of all people, and he said that the first great guitarist that he got acquainted with was not Segovia, it was Laurindo Almeida, because his discs were more popular in Cuba at the time. So,
wow. Do you know about the guy, Judy?
Laurindo Almeida?
Yeah,
of course I know his name. I know also few pieces that I heard. Eventually I had one student, I mean, when I arrived in San Francisco, one student was working on one of his pieces, I remember. And I just knew basically more like a name, but that's I just discovered with this piece, and I listened some other stuff by him. Yeah, but I still don't know anything about Zoran, the composer of the Grammy.
I guess we'll listen, right? I'm curious now.
Probably that's the best thing I can do before any kind of thinking. This Grammy thing.
Yeah, I mean, but how have you guys been? I mean, I am just like busy in my work, punching keys and listening to music when I can. Fabio, you're on tour in the UK. Judicael, how was the month for you? What you been up to?
Actually, I did something interesting. I've seen part of the Geneva piano competition. I was in Geneva, and I was able to see 2 semi-finalists and the final. It was very, 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 very interesting. Semi-final was I don't know. I think you're frozen. It's okay. No. Yeah. The semi-final was like 1 hour 30 minutes of music, and 2 days after they were like 45 minutes of chamber music, and for the finalists 2 days after it was a concerto. It was very, very long program, so 2 hours and a half to know in 1 week, and very, very, very interesting. I could see, I'm a guitarist, so I compare and I see some difference and some stuff which are a bit the same. So it's very interesting. The thing that was very surprising for me is there were a very, very big difference between the first two and the two third prize, between the first and the second and the third prize. The level, the difference of level was quite high, and I was very surprised because I did not expect. They were all super good, and I really don't say that to be nice. They were all of them super good, but still the first two were really better. At least for the final. I don't know for the semi-final.
I look a little bit on the semi-final. I have Medici TV, so sometimes I keep that in the background. But of course, being there, it's a different deal, right?
Yeah.
No, it's one of the topics I want to talk later. Competitions, within the last month, also Baltimore kind of wrapped up. Would be nice to talk about that. And you were mentioning the program and like the differences between like the guitar competitions that we have. All good. So
Geneva did guitar some years ago.
Yeah.
I was a competitor then.
Yeah, I know that. I think you were it was the last time they did it, no?
It was 92, yeah.
92. Yeah, it was the last time. So, yeah, I mean, I now I am a little bit in contact with them, so I talk.
The thing is that we have to remember that at that time the Geneva competition was run by violinist Franco Fish, and he was married to Maria Livia São Marcos, who was the guitar teacher at the Geneva Conservatoire at the time. Wow. So of course there was a kind of there was pressure in the house for the guitar competition to happen.
So I'm sorry for Natalia, man, but Judicael, you need to do one.
You mean that I should marry with the guy of the organization? I mean, I am very supportive to bring back guitar, but not as much as that, I must say. It would cross my limit, really.
Come on, man.
Well, Maria Livia, actually, he did a great job. I mean, they had a very high-class jury, and the organization was absolutely fantastic. And it was very high level, no question about that.
And the requirements, wow, I had honestly no idea. I knew about IAD and Radio France, etc. But wow, I mean, how were let's start there then. I wanted to touch competitions at the end, but let's go for it. How was the requirements back then? Because I know it's very, very different, right? Like if you take the GFA as kind of like the standard, then as a competitor, when you join one of these, it's like, oh my God, what the hell is going on, right? So how was it in 92?
I was twice, actually. I was in 98 and 88 and 92. I don't remember 92 exactly what it was. I remember it was a very large repertoire. The semifinals, we had to give a full concert. It was pretty much 50 minutes of music, including, top class music. But I remember very clearly 88 because it was a repertoire I had never played before. I remember that set pieces were folios by Takemitsu and Ginastera Sonata. At that time, I had never played those pieces, and Takemitsu was completely new to me. And I remember that was pretty much the sort of thing that people had to decide, well, do you have the chops to play that thing? If you didn't, you simply didn't go to that competition. And it was not only that, we had to prepare 2 concertos for the finals, and the semifinals were pretty much a full concert. So it was a very large amount of music to be learned, including 2 very, very difficult pieces.
And how many people were there? Because like I keep on hearing whenever anyone wants to get more repertoire, do more stuff, like the fear is that nobody is going to show up, right? Like how many people were there?
I don't remember exact numbers, but there were more than 50.
Wow. Do you think we could do something like that nowadays? I mean,
the thing is, I really noticed that among my students, it's when the program is very long, they are afraid to bet too much in comparison of what they can get. I mean, I know it's a wrong bet, but you can't really fight with that. I mean, you can fight, but it's very difficult. I mean, you have so many competition with nothing as a program that when there is a big program, you need to really do a lot of advertisement to really bring it to to explain that there is a real value to prepare that. I mean, the reward can be really good, but the thing is sometimes the guitarists are a little bit, sometimes, not all of them, some are really out of the classical world, so they don't really know the difference between those competition and the regular guitar competition in terms of exposure.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the thing is,
financial prize was also much bigger certainly for Geneva computation. But yeah,
I mean, it's also, I mean, no way for the guitar that you can ask for, you know, like 1 hour of chamber music and 1 hour 30 minutes of repertory. It's not really possible, but there's some good reason. I mean, I check all the program. It was all the time 2 hours of program they proposed. So the 8 competitors who were semi-finalists. And in fact, if you are just very objective, there are some pieces which are not that difficult technically. The thing is, for example, one of the finalists playing semi-final, 18 minutes, I think, Sonata by Haydn. And we have to consider that this is extremely easy technically. Musically, it's a different story, of course. But technically, for example, one guy play 2 sonatas in semi-final, one sonata number 8 by Prokofiev, which is very difficult and long, and one sonata in G minor, the very long one by Schubert. You know, the one that Tarrega did the transcription of the Menuet that Brim was playing. I don't remember the number. But anyway, this sonata is maybe 40 minutes, but technically it's not challenging. No. So I guess if we ask such long program, we should be able to accept some pieces which are not so difficult. Because if you play 1 hour 30 minutes of Gina Serra or whatever, it's just a nightmare. So if for example they would accept, let's say, now I have to think about that in Geneva because they have to play in Master 2 recital of 1 hour. Sometimes there is 3 months of difference between the date is just 3 months. If you can play, for example, the Suite Populaire Brésilienne, which is great music but less difficult technically. I always talk about technical now. It's okay because you gain basically 25-30 minutes with not like difficult like Gina Serra. And you have to think that all the pianists, they were playing somehow some pieces which were not so difficult. So this is why it's difficult to compare.
I think there's another feature there, that the fact that when you're learning the piano or the violin or singing or the cello, you sort of have a development that starts when you are a child and ends when you become an adult. But let's say the violin, you first learn a concerto by Vivaldi, then a concerto by Bach, and then a concerto by Viotti, and then you learn the Mendelssohn, until you are able to play Brahms, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, and everything. On the guitar, we don't have that algorithm of repertoire to be learned. You have to get there and play Concerto de Aranjuez, which is a nightmare, technically speaking. Many times without having not had any previous experience as a soloist with an orchestra. So, I mean, it's already an enormous pressure to be in the finals of a competition. Second, is enormous pressure to be playing in front of a big orchestra. And third, you had to play an immensely difficult piece without much experience before. So I know we are always, finding excuses, but that is fact. We don't have that. I mean, we just expect everybody to play the very best pieces that are usually extremely hard as well. So,
would you be open to something like requiring 2 concertos, but one of them being the Vivaldis, right? And then one, it's not the same, right? It's not the same.
Actually, it wasn't like this in Geneva for the piano for the final, but the level of the concerto, they were very different from one to another. For example, it was possible to play the first one by Liszt, which is maybe 20 minutes, virtuosistic, but not crazy, not the most difficult, very virtuosistic. And it was possible to play the Brahms, which is 2 times longer. So even the concerto, it was possible to play the number 5, the Emperor by Beethoven, which is 10 times much easier than the Prokofiev number 3. So you see, it's a total different type of job. I mean, when you play Prokofiev number 3 or Rachmaninoff 3, the Rach wasn't on the list. And when you play the number 5 by Beethoven. So it's a total different work, and it's a total different technical level. So I say that would it be acceptable to play the Vivaldi? Probably, in my opinion, I can't really explain. I would say probably not, because of the duration first, and second, there is also the question of it's really a transcription somehow. I mean, it's not for the guitar. I mean, there's a lot of parameters that would make the stuff a little bit complex. For me,
But
I
even
wouldn't
something like
mind that.
Giuliani or like the Caruri, I was listening to.
Giuliani, I wouldn't mind. Actually, in Giuliani, for me, it's easier to judge somebody than Aranjuez, because if somebody has very good scale and let's say that the first and the last movement is done. I was talking about that half an hour ago on the phone with a friend, and actually, for me, Aranjuez is a kind of nightmare, because also that's something I noticed. Most of the players who are the most efficient in the Aranjuez, they cut a lot of notes, which is also very weird, because there should be a revised version, because all the time, even the very good player who played that good, I mean, who look a little bit the director sometimes when they play, the conductor, who look kind of comfortable, they cut a lot of notes.
And especially in the third movement, though.
Yes, and it means that there is a problem. So I don't really know which problem is it. Are we too lazy to really do it properly, or is it really too difficult? I don't know. So I would prefer any other concerto. I mean, not the Vivaldi, but I would prefer the Ponce, the Villa-Lobos, I mean, than Aranjuez, to be honest. But it's just a personal thinking.
Now, I wanted to talk about competitions because of a couple of things, right? Judicael, I know you're now more involved in the GFA, right? And that, for good or bad, is kind of like the de facto kind of like price accepted apex in the community, is the accepted kind of seal of approval that you need to have in your curriculum, and your students have done very well there, right? And now at the same time, over the last 15 years or so, like once all of these competitions kind of started dying out, like Geneva died out, Paris died out, they all stopped kind of within 5 years of Segovia dying, which is like very crazy, right? Maybe it's another topic for a different day. But once you didn't have that figure, then all the kind of major institutions of classical music said, well, he's finally gone, so we'll pull the plug, right? But now with parkening, and God knows if it's going to come back. I think COVID kind of pushed it beyond what they wanted. There were a couple of initiatives to do a different type of competition with orchestra, kind of the format that you had. I know in Germany you have the Deutsche Musikpreis. There was a Magnorkirchen competition at some point, and now most recently was this Baltimore competition, right? That Manuel pushed a lot and had a very interesting format, like kind of going in this direction, right? Like having a lot of repertoire. What is your impressions on these kind of efforts, like namely Baltimore? I mean, the level was fairly high. I mean, but what do you guys think? Is that something that could be that could continue to evolve, or how do you guys see it?
Well, that's a very, very interesting question. I'll answer first because I was in the jury. And when Manuel invited me to the jury, it was very clear that he intended to have something different, in the sense that he wanted to have wholesome values in his choice of repertoire and all the requirements that he had. And we had, the whole thing was behind curtains until the very final. I mean, we only managed to see the candidates in the third. Well, the final was subdivided in 3 nights in 3 different venues, and only in the last one we were allowed to see the candidates. So there was something very different about that. In terms of choice of repertoire, I think he was extremely conservative, and that is a good thing. It's good to see somebody go there and be able to play Soar Variations Opus 9, or a Villa-Lobos Prelude, or a difficult study like Etude No. 7 by Villa-Lobos. It's a piece everybody knows. If you have never played that before, you have no business in being in a competition like that. I mean, of course, it can happen that just by chance you never learn Prelude number 3 by Villa-Lobos. But if you cannot learn that in a month, well, God help you. I mean, you have no business in being there. So I think it was a competition that was drawing on a repertoire that should be the bread and butter for everybody, and that should be the yardstick by which you judge musical accomplishment and technical wholesomeness. And that is what we got, to be honest. I mean, somebody going there and playing a full Bach suite and making an argument for that. We all know that everybody has to learn that at school, but going there and presenting that in concert and being able to project and convey the music to an audience and a jury, it was a different thing. And I was extremely pleased with that. The other side of that is, what do you build up? What do you get by putting a competition together and in an age where everybody would like to accompany that through the internet and everything? I think we've had a few cases of big piano competitions, like the Chopin competition in Poland or the Van Cliburn in the United States, that are huge following over the internet. And I think that if that kind of work is not done in terms of outreaching a much larger audience and offering prizes that really represent a breakthrough in a candidate's career, I don't see much of a point, except, of course, you always gain something. You have financial gain if you have a really substantial money prize. If you get concerts, I remember that I won the GFA competition in '96 and Judicael in '97. I had never played a concert in the United States before. Suddenly I had a tour of 60 concerts playing for important people. So much of the career I have nowadays started there. Certainly all the career I have in North America. So it might not be a big thing, but professionally for me, it was a big breakthrough. So I'm talking about the list of prizes. I mean, money prize, the concerts you get, if you manage to have a breakthrough in orchestras or major music societies or major musical presenters, and of course, internet exposure. I think that, offering to a winner, to a first prize winner, proper management in internet marketing would be much more profitable than many other kinds of prizes nowadays.
Yeah, we're going to go there in a bit.
International professional guidance is much more important nowadays, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, any surprises? Anything that you think I didn't expect, that, or was it extremely clear these three are the finalists for sure? And for me, the most important, the most interesting thing was how many times the repertoire was repeated. Like, because you might have a bad day on Etude 7 on the semifinal, and then you repeat it on the final. And yeah, I mean, if you cannot do that well multiple times, then you kind of see an underlying problem, right? But was that always the design, to be able to repeat the pieces in multiple rounds?
Well, they're repeated in different halls, and that made the whole difference.
Gotcha.
So this thing of being able to deal with the whole and different audience participation was also part of the ethos of the judgment. Well, I don't have a problem. Actually, I was only in the final jury, so I didn't see the first and second round. So basically, in 3 nights, they repeated only one piece. It was not much. I could have lived without the repeats, actually, but the fact that they had, a final that was split in 3 different evenings, I find that was a winning idea. I think that should be adopted by other competitions, to be honest, because then you can have a much clearer picture of what you like and what you dislike about the person. Me, particularly, as a member of the jury, I'm not, of course, I'm concerned. After all, I'm a teacher, but I'm concerned about style, technical stuff, and whether, the Bach sounds like Bach, whether the Ginastera sounds like Ginastera, and so on and so forth. But first thing that crosses my mind when I'm in the jury is, do I want to hear this person again? because many times everything is correct. But is that boring, or is not committed, or is just playing? I mean, there are so many nuances to the performance that make you want to hear the person again, and sometimes it doesn't. And from the first evening, it was pretty clear that I was looking forward to the second and to the third evenings. They were incredibly interesting candidates, even though I think there were some people that might be even more interesting and were left in the semifinals. But I was happy with the level of the finals.
Judy, did you follow it? Did you see a bit of this Baltimore thing?
Not at all. I didn't see. I've seen a bit Marco because we were top sheet, but I didn't. I don't know. I have some. Of course, it's a great thing to do that. And I never did such a thing myself. I never organized or whatever. So this is very impressive. I would probably be much more traditional if I were doing a competition. I would just ask for repertory. I mean, I would ask probably for, I don't know, 30 minutes in semi-final and 1 hour in final. And I would just ask for a free program. And I would do that in the situation of the guitar. I wouldn't ask. I mean, if some people has to present 80 or 90 minutes of music and can't repeat, I think we have a full thing. And after that, if the guy just wanted to play one style of music, that's his problem. But I would probably more go in a free program than to go in some pieces like this. It's more how I see the thing myself. I would maybe put some, early music, baroque music, 19 romantic, this kind. I would do maybe 5-6 period and force everybody to choose at least 3 from the 6, something like this, but free program. I would definitely, and if somebody wants to just play 3 period instead of 6 in 90 minutes, okay, that's his problem. I would go for that. The thing is, for sure, the study number 7, blah, blah, is part of the repertory. So everybody, let's say that this is one of the things that everybody should play. Some studies by Villa-Lobos, one Bach suite, one big sonata. I mean, that's something we should play anyway. But maybe as a, for a final, I would maybe choose such pieces, just the first round, just to get to put out a lot of people, and after that I would just leave it open the most possible. I would.
What about like something that I didn't see that happen in ARD, for instance, or in this kind of competitions, Geneva, etc., is chamber music concertos, right?
In ARD they did the chamber music. The thing is, I really want the guitar to be treated normally, but the thing is, the concerto, we have not so many. I mean, we have many and not so many, and we need amplification, and it's not part of the repertory of the orchestra who can play. I mean, it's not the same. I mean, it's the same and not the same. So I think it's a balance, a difficult balance, because I really hate when guitar is so different and basically anything is, we can do whatever we want, and because it's so different that there's no rules, basically. I don't like that. But if we try to do exactly like piano, violin, cello, it's not the same. I mean, the chamber music, there are a lot of chamber music. I mean, Fabio play a lot of repertory, play a lot of chamber music, but still, I mean, for example, if you are a pianist, it's impossible to make a career and say as a statement, I won't play any concerto. It would make kind of no sense. I mean, some people did maybe, but it would make no sense. On guitar, to be honest, it's totally possible to decide to don't do concerto. It's fine. Basically, you will not play Aranjuez, But except that, I mean, I don't know if David Russell is playing concerto for many years. I don't think so. I didn't see him playing concerto.
Ironically, one of the last times that I saw he played Aranjuez was in Grand Park with Alondra de la Parra, but back in 2013 or something like that.
Okay, so
but it's been a while.
I'm sure he could play much more concerto if he wanted. Somehow, probably doesn't want. So it's possible to make a great career without playing concerto if you are a guitarist. It's not possible if you are a pianist, cellist, or it's not possible.
And that's a great point, no? I mean, part of what you were saying is some of the most painful experiences I've had in music is in some competition finals when the guitar when the orchestra is like literally sight reading whatever Brauer concerto, and it sounds horrible, and the poor
and the amplification, it's something. I mean, the amplification is something. It's somehow we need to have amplification, and if we have amplification, it's very difficult to listen the tone. I mean, sometimes the amplification is not so great. I mean, so it's possible to do that, of course, final with concerto, but it's not the same. It's really not the same, and that's fine. I mean, each instrument has his own way. And I think it's possible to don't be totally in the margin, but don't try to do, for example, if somebody is doing the Judicael competition and ask 2 hours, 30 minutes of music, with guitar, it won't happen. I mean, there will not be enough contestant. So for sure. Or it will be sometimes even just people who are brave enough to play 2 hours, 30 minutes, but who shouldn't. So, so it's fine, but it's different, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you last time we talked, you were saying how like, and you don't have to share, right? Like this, I know as an organization, you know, the GFA tries to, you know, be keep their organization kind of very tight, but how do you see it changing? How do you see it evolving a bit, the competition? Or do you think, because I know that they're trying different things, right, in terms of the required piece? It's been the same for like 30 years now. So how do you see it changing in the future?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think I can say it, but they will change some stuff. Not this year, but next year. There will be some changes for sure. I mean, there will be some changes. I don't think it was. I mean, nothing like crazy. Like, okay, now let's do.
But the structure itself will kind of mostly stay the same.
Yeah. The structure will stay. I mean, there were some changes the last 20 years. I mean, for example, the jury are different for many years now, because when I did it, it was not necessarily the people who play concert. It was more some teachers where the jury now they choose people who play the concert, so they are players. So it's a little bit different because of that.
Is that a requirement now? That they,
it's not a requirement, but if you see the name of the jury, it's all the time performers. You know, they were this year. I think it was Eduardo Fernandez, Elliot Fisk, whatever. So it was performer. I remember a long time ago, it wasn't necessarily performer. It was more some teachers who were around. So they have changed yet, some things, and I think they made the program a little bit longer. They're going to make more changes just to be adapted at the new situation. You know.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we could keep on talking about competitions for like forever, and like people really are interested in this. I would just close with this, right? And we can revisit in as the GFA gets closer next year and stuff like that to see when they publish stuff. Let's see if parking happens. They haven't announced yet, but you both are professors. Right. And this is, I think, a perfect segue for the next topic, because you'll see. It seems that up until marching, the path was very clear. You have to win competitions. And then not only, okay, you have to win competitions, then you have to win a lot of competitions. So people started counting. And like every biography you read was like, I won 10. No, I won 11. No, I won 13. I won like, right. And then marching comes, it's like, I won 19. And everybody lost their mind. It's like, what? Oh, he must be the best because he won 19. Right. And then I think, how many has Marco won? Like, I don't know, 35 or something like that.
Marco? No, more.
Yeah, more, right? It's like 50 competitions at this point, right?
Yeah, something like this. Actually, I send the paper of his bio with the competition to some of my students, so they know the list of the competition they can do. Because it's on the same page. So I was thinking it was the best way to know the competition you can do. No, really.
So this is the thing, right? At which point are you feeling that maybe this age of, like a new student, an 18-year-old now, sees that path and it's like, well, it's gonna take me 20 years. Like, I mean, I'm still gonna compete here and there, but like to beat that, then at that point, like the mountain gets steeper, right? So people move to some other stuff. Do you see a little bit of like a change of sentiment in wanting to do competitions? Or do you think people still want to compete and like, get their
I mean, I have a lot of students who use competition not really to compete, but to have some goals, to work on some pieces, and to have really. Actually, I was all the time very. I am surprised because I did very few competitions myself, but I never really did that for a goal. I was just doing not to because I did so few that it was really super serious each time I did it. But a lot of
how
them they
many do
need
you
to
do?
have some.
Just as how many like?
I did so when I was little, when I was 14, I did 4, and after that I stopped, and I did from 19 to I did maybe 5.
Like compete, not one, but like
No,
competed.
competition. Yeah,
Wow.
5. I mean 9 with the one when I was little.
Well,
But
that's 2 months of Marco's life. Like,
no, actually, for me, I stopped kind of early because I started to
well,
give class to Thibaut Covin.
right.
And he was himself winning competition, so it was too weird to. I mean, I stopped because of that. I mean, maybe I
Really?
wouldn't have. Yeah, because I was 26 when he started to be my student. I could have done
So you
27.
could
I
have
was.
competed at the same time.
Yeah, and
Wow.
I didn't want to lose in front of a young student, so I decided to stop.
Wow. Yeah, there was a time he won a lot of stuff, I remember.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
The
that's why
Trinquet
I
de la
stopped.
Guitarra
But
and yeah.
yeah, but a lot of them they don't necessarily do that to compete. I mean, I'm not in their brain, and I just know my student. I don't know the others, but I assume they might be very pretty much the same. And I must say that recently I have few students who are really very good and totally prepared with competition, but it looks like they have no interest on that. That's the first time ever I have that. Some people who look totally ready in terms of their level, musicality, even maturity, and
Right.
it looks like they don't have any single interest on that. It's totally new for me. So maybe this is those personality who are like this. Maybe it's a new brand. I don't know yet.
And what are they interested in?
Just work on music. Really.
Fabio? What
Yeah,
about
they
you?
work on music. And the thing very funny is the idea they have of a musician who win competition is somebody who is much better and mature than them. So that's funny. The idea they have is they are not ready at all. But it's not because they are modest or too shy or afraid, whatever. It's just the idea they have, the projection they have. So they might do in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but now they think they are not ready. Even is for sure they are ready.
Wow.
That's the thing. It's I don't know. I have few of them like this. I don't know if it's just them or if it's a new brand. I don't know. Maybe people start to think with so many competition, they start to think and they know that it's possible to, sometimes you have some competition. For example, there were one in France, with very low price and very local, and there were like 27 contestants with a lot of good players. And I don't know why everybody came here, and there's some bigger, and suddenly there's nobody. So it's really like a lottery. It's very weird. There's no logic.
Wow. What about you, Fabio?
Well, it's a very, very different life story because I have this life that is divided between Brazil and England. And you know that English guitarists, they have never been very strong at competitions. They don't like to do it. You don't have that many people who have tried them. And the two major guitarists in the country history, Julian Bream and John Williams, they never had to win a competition. Quite the opposite. Every time they tried, they didn't. And but coming from Brazil, that it was a country that before internet, it was a bit of a backyard of everything. So we knew that some people were developing musical careers, but we didn't know how where to start, what sort of standard you had to reach to get there, and what you did out of that. But we had a couple, or not more than a couple actually, of guitarists who were world famous. We are talking about Toribio Santos, the Abreu brothers, the Assad brothers, and Carlos Barbosa Lima, most of all. And they all had been international prize winners. So there was this thing in the air that, well, first of all, you have to move abroad, you have to live in another country because Brazil is too much of a backwater and nobody can start a career there. That is pretty true, actually. On the other hand, there was this thing, wow, we have to do competitions because that is the entrance door for an international career. That was pretty much true until the mid-80s, I would say. When I did a GFA, it was already, the last tremblings of the repercussion that it would get out of winning a major international competition. And I think the end of the Radio France competition in Paris pretty much marked that. Is the moment when winning, I'm talking about major international competitions, not the local ones. For me, that is pretty much the end of the whole expectation around big international competitions for the guitar. When a student comes to me and asks about that, I always say, well, what can you get out of a competition? Because if you have this illusion that that is the entrance door for high class management, for major recording contracts, for major media exposure, you are completely, you are mad. I mean, you have no idea of what you are talking about. We all know that, even in the major guitar competitions internationally. But if you win or if you are a finalist at one of them and you make a good impression, that is the beginning of a professional career. That is, you are going to play for guitar societies, guitar festivals. You can get local notoriety. You see, for instance, a country like Spain or Italy, where you can find lots of local competitions. Many times that is the plus in your biography that you need to compete for a teaching position or something like that. So you manage to
it's a foot on the door
locally. You manage to raise your profile locally enough for you to start a professional career. So it's a different thing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you have to be clear about what you are getting. That, of course, has nothing to do with your relation to your art. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're playing at a Carnegie Hall or Wigmore Hall or if you're playing at the backyard or at your grandmother's living room. You have to play for your life. You have to play the best. Every concert is the best concert you've ever played. If not, what kind of artist do you intend to be? I mean, if you make that kind of difference. So every time I give a concert, that has to be the best concert I've ever played. At least that's what I strive for. So it shouldn't be different when you play at a competition. But professionally speaking, I think, winning one of the major competitions, we're talking about GFA, Koblenz, Targa. I don't know what the bigger ones are right now, but certainly the Munich one, that was a door of access to a sphere of musical production and management that most guitarists don't have access to. So I think it's an interesting goal to participate in such an event. And we have to remember that
it carries such a weight. But the interesting thing is it carries such a weight for a certain group of people, and it means nothing for other. So if you're, this is what I always say whenever I have these discussions like I was in Koblenz earlier this year, right? So if you want to play with a symphony orchestra, it's probably much more impressive that you were a semi-finalist or a finalist in ARD in Munich than if you won Tárrega and the GFA, because they have no idea what that is.
Exactly.
And vice versa, if you want to play for a guitar society, you and you won the GFA, they're not going to care if you won, if you play with Munich Symphony or it's just almost two completely separate worlds that each have their things that they value, and you kind of need to know what to communicate to each, right? The reason I wanted to go there is because of the next topic, and then let's see how far we go. We've been talking for a while.
Now I really noticed that what you say, if I will, is just
yeah,
perfect. It's perfect. I mean, this is exactly what I feel. The thing is, now most of the students they kind of know it. I remember some years ago, I won't say the country because I don't want him to, but one student had a prize in the competition. I think it was in Koblenz. And at the same time, one fellow from his country had a second prize in a major other instrument competition. I don't want to give too much details.
Yeah.
And he was very surprised that in his country, they talk much more about the other guy who had, I think, even not the second prize, fourth prize in one really big competition that we all know, more than him who had a very good prize in a guitar competition. Because he just didn't know the reality, in terms of exposure. And it's quite interesting that this can still happen, but most of the people, they exactly know where they are, to be honest. They really know where they are.
And this is the thing, right? Like I wanted to use that as a segue because I know it's late at night, so don't get any ideas. But what I've noticed is that because of this dynamic of like crazy amount of competitions, you need to like win 50 to get your foot in the door now, right? People are now using new tools, right? To get known, right? So you probably have seen this, right? And Eva is for some reason, all of this, like some of the top guitarists in terms of, I swear I have nothing to do with this, but it just so happens that some of the guitarists in Instagram, female guitarists that have the most number of followers, which that is simply a trend, is like female guitarists have tens of thousands more followers than your average male guitarist, regardless of how they play, etc. For the reasons you can take.
Did you see she's followed by Thibaut Garcia and Gabriel Bianco?
There we go. But I mean, this is what I'm saying. I mean, we have really witnessed the birth, right, of the Instagrammer class of guitarists, right? And it's Eva, and they all happen to study in Düsseldorf with Joaquin or with Alex, who are great teachers. Eva plays amazingly well, and there's a couple more, and they all have like between 80, 100,000 followers, which is, not like pop star level.
We had a student here at the Royal Academy, Alexandra Whittingham. She's very internet savvy. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, she's doing it extremely well. Let's see how much she has. She's because I've been following these strengths, and I know her very well. She there we go. Also recording. She has a very, very well balanced career, but that's another example, right? Of, well, you know what? Competitions are away, but I'm gonna get my 100,000 followers. I'm gonna get my album recorded and reviewed in Gramophone magazine, and she's starting to do she's starting to play serious concerts here, right? Using these kind of tools, right? So the sad thing that with every technology, right? And I don't want to say the sad thing, but with every technology, there's like pros and cons, right? So the thing is here now that yes, now your job in life is to eat, to sleep, to practice your music, but then every day almost you need to, like, being a creator in a platform like Instagram or whatnot, you need to produce content constantly, right? So in the case of Eva, for instance, it's like every day you're uploading videos of playing scales, of Adelita, of Pepe, like of every, and all of a sudden you're investing so many hours just to get more followers that almost becomes your job. And if you stop, then you go down in the rankings. Someone gets more followers than you, and then all of a sudden the Dario supports that artist, not you, which is insane, right? Like, and this is the creator economy, basically, right? So you guys are teachers. I'm gonna stop sharing here. Have you? I mean, you just mentioned Alexandra, but Judicael, do you have anyone in your studio, or like, what do you think of this trend, right? Because now people can say, well, I don't need to win Koblenz to be sponsored by the Dario or Agustin. I just need 100,000 followers, right?
They are really free to do whatever they want. I mean, I don't really have any opinion about that. It's just I don't even think it's a generation thing, because I know a lot of people much younger than me and they are not like this. So it's just a question of yeah, it's a, I can talk, I think, pretty openly about my first super good student who was Thibaut Covin. And Thibaut Covin raised before this Instagram stuff, blah, blah, blah. But he really wanted to be famous somehow. He wanted to play and be famous. Maybe be famous and play. I don't know in which order. So you have some people who are more into it. Some people who, I mean, each person is different.
Which is fair, right?
And,
I mean, it's a fair thing, right?
Which is fine.
Yeah.
After that, I guess that I'm maybe lucky as a teacher, because at least a lot of students who were attracted by taking class with me, they were not so much into it. So for me, it's a little bit more comfortable, because there are more
you don't have to deal with it.
There are more time to practice. So it's a little bit easier for me. But I see this much less than I was thinking on the past about the generation thing, because I have plenty of people that I know who are like 20, 25. They are just thinking differently. It's very complex of this reality. For example, now you have a lot of young people who want to take less the plane just to don't pollute the planet. So you have a lot of contrast in the society. No, but I mean, that's kind of somehow the opposite of that. And it comes from who wants to use less electricity. It comes not necessarily from my generation, but from younger people. Yep. And it's interesting. And that's the same with the guitarists. I know some people who are not like that. Some that are much more. So it's very different. And also, I really noticed that it can depend a little bit from which country you come from, because, of course, if your family is wealthy and your country is wealthy, you are less stressed about making a living. So probably you do less thing to be visible and make money to feed yourself. So there are a lot of difference also depending of your money background, about how you are. I mean, it's very different. So I can't really say anything. If I have interesting class with somebody, I'm fine with anything they can do, I would say.
Do you think it impacts how you develop as an artist, as a musician? If like between your every day, between your lessons, or you have to record a video, right, for your followers?
Probably not necessary, I would say. Let's say my first idea would be yes. But if I think a little bit more, no, because I know some people who are totally involved with that, and they're still managing an amazing artistically career. I've seen lately this violinist Ray Chen.
Oh no, he's an Instagrammer, man.
Australian.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's crazy on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure he's doing. I've seen 2 weeks ago. I've seen Yo-Yo Ma playing the 6 cello sonatas. So he's not an Instagrammer, but he plays with Sting, with Obama, with whatever. So he's doing a lot of things, and at the same time, he has done wonderful with those 6 suites. The only thing I want as somebody who goes to concerts is to listen good concerts. This is what I want, and of course, if time to time people talk, I prefer to like what they do. Let's say I prefer to like what they do, but if I don't like what they do and they play wonderfully, it's good too. But I would prefer a full, of course, artist. But I'm not so picky about that. I want good concerts and good students.
Makes sense. Fabio, you mentioned Alexandra. I mean, how's the scene from the students, or like the communities that you see? Like, do you see these people being more involved in growing their followers and stuff like that, in addition of like, I don't know, like studying or trying to get concerts and such?
I think that we have to consider that people have these different psychologies. And that didn't start with internet era. You have people who are more keen on comparing to each other, who are more competitive, who are more aggressive in projecting one's own personality. I mean, what we would call competitiveness. And that has happened before. And I'm pretty sure that back in the 80s and 90s, or even before that, you had people who were more concerned about forging a career, and people who were more concerned, let's say, with good academic qualifications and teaching and other professional alternatives. The thing is that at the turn of the millennium, obviously, the whole thing of communication and a profession that was based mostly on reputation before suddenly started to adopt marketing strategies that become to mass culture, that belong to mass culture. So having good internet communication, I was just talking to a student the other day about that. I mean, if you are working with major management nowadays, you are just forced to have a communication, somebody working for you with communication. I mean, managing your websites and internet profiles and social media profiles, and trying to direct what you post and how you manage to get more followers, because it really makes a difference. The thing is that we grew up with a certain ethos in the profession that has to be there, which is the ethos of excellence. And many times people equate excellence to introspection. Definitely, to be able to achieve excellence in your playing, you have to have your moment of introspection. But that doesn't mean that you cannot, save up a couple of hours every day to communicate with your prospective public. And most of all, people who are playing the best gigs nowadays, they manage to connect with other people who also have much media or who have economic power. I mean, how can you get, let's say, a top-class violin for you to play just by playing? No, you have to connect with people who can sponsor that for you. Otherwise, you cannot get a Stradivarius. I mean, you don't buy a Stradivarius giving violin concerts.
You found that's a different topic. I mean, it's something that I'm extremely passionate about, because a major handicap of the guitar is that we don't have the industrial complex that other instruments have, in terms of foundations, in terms of the old lady that hears $1 million instrument. We're starting to see a little bit of that with some loans of guitars and stuff like that. But it's not even in the same, like, and the companies, like, when one thinks of which companies, if you're a guitarist, right, and you say, I play very good, and you jump into the pool trying to make, like, what are the big companies that naturally could help you? Is the string companies that give you free strings, and that's pretty much maybe guitars, maybe Yamaha guitars, right? But it's very different when you have like Steinway or like other institutions, right?
So Samurais give me 1 million each year to me. You don't have such a contract?
I mean, they must be doing very good.
Share 1 million.
You have but no, that's only when you hit 10 years as an artist.
I understand what you say, but the thing is, for example, in literature, on the past, poetry was very important in France and in many countries. Now it's really a niche thing. Okay, and I want to say, yes, of course, when you write, when you play, you want to be heard. But in fact, the fact that poetry is much smaller than if you write books about lifestyle, it's okay. I mean, you have some people who love that, and I really don't like to think to be on the margin. And sometimes there was something I didn't like with the guitars, is to be proud to be small, But at the same time, I think we shouldn't be proud to be small, like we are so different, the others are so competitive, and guitar, I don't like that. But at the same time, we are not, let's say, as big as other instruments, and I think that's fine. And if you are a pianist, Lang Lang, for example, when he did the transfer, from I think his company to Dutch Gramophone, he received 1 million. I remember they talk about that. He received 1 million of advance for the fee, for the money we'll make. But if you compare this guy to any pop singer, even French pop singer who is just famous in French, it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. There's always a bigger
even
cat,
him,
right?
Even him should. And I don't talk about basketball, whatever. I just talk about other artists. So I mean, it's not really the way I think I would. I mean, if I was thinking like this, I would be or very sad if I compare with other instruments, or very proud if I compare with people who are wonderful, who are doing poetry, and they can be as good as me, even better, and they won't sell more than 5,000 books in a year, each 10 years, because this is how it works for poetry. So that's just the point. It's not really the way to see the thing.
And that brings the question, right? Like, do we need it then? Like, because I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think it's kind of and we'll have to move it for the next time. This would have been the perfect segue to that, right? Because I mean, in many ways, like, do we need to use mass marketing kind of strategies for something that is inherently niche, right? Or does it make sense to make it, small and nice, right? Like I tend to think of classical music, and especially what we do on guitar, as like something ideally that could be for a public that is fairly sophisticated, right? And fairly, like, it doesn't need to appeal to everybody in the world, right? Because if you're trying to play that game, then by default you're gonna start to lowering the bar, and then like, I don't know, there's electric guitar out there already, right? In pop bands and stuff like that. So if you want to appeal to everybody in the world, why not just go and do that, right? Just go and sing, right? Or like write country songs or something like that. But I tend to think of it as kind of like, why not be, instead of trying to be a Toyota that everybody drives, like, why not be a very nice kind of handmade Ferrari or Bugatti or something like that, right? Like, doing an analogy with like cars. I mean, I think, like, because Ferrari is not losing sleep because they're not selling as many cars, or like as Tesla even, right? But they don't want to, right? Either. So I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just very interesting that so many people now are really using media and social media to try to appeal to as many people as possible. And I wonder if that is the point, like you said, right, Judicael? So yeah, folks, I mean, it's super cool to talk to you folks. Really, it's really cool. I really enjoy it. We'll do another one in a month for the end of the year. Let's think of like what our least favorite things of the year has been, and we'll continue. And then something I wanted to talk about was like, I don't know, this kind of Segovia myth of like trying to have a career. Like, I think the shadow of Segovia still kind of lingers there, because when you think, oh, I want to play, but what does it mean to play? Well, and then everybody kind of more or less says the career of Segovia, and maybe there's more options nowadays, and that's another conversation. We'll spend another half an hour, but yeah, I don't know if there's any plugs, any things that you're gonna be doing in the next weeks as well. Feel free to say it. I don't know if you have any concerts or something like that. Nothing? No?
I have a few concerts coming up. First of all, in Portugal, I'm making a concert with two lutanists, with Hopkinson Smith and Jose Miguel Moreno. So I'm getting ready for that. And then I come back to Brazil, and I'll play my regular solo concerts in a couple of venues there. And then I'll be looking forward to my summer break with my kids, hopefully.
That's right. Summer break. Brazil, summer.
Summer, yes. You said the magic word.
Yeah. What are your plans for the holidays, folks? Are you staying in Europe, Judicael?
I guess so. Yes, probably. I don't know.
Yeah,
I will see. But my real holidays are in February, because there's 1 month off. in February in Geneva. So my real holidays will be in February.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank
so
you,
much
Albert.
again. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, we'll chat soon. Take care.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.